UFC 303 is this weekend, and PrizePicks is giving you a free square. And on top of that free square, they will give you free money to play. The only thing you need to do to get that free money is go to WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks. Use promo code WWP, and they will instantly match your deposit. If you give them $100, they'll give you $100 right there on the spot. If you give them 20, they'll give you 20. You can use that money instantly to build your own entry. And then on top of that, you can start your entry with this free Alex Pereira square. If the guy lands any strike whatsoever, you will get paid. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to walk you through my PrizePicks entry for UFC 303. Like I said, go get your free money. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks. Use promo code WWP. I'm going to go ahead and build an entry for you. We're going to walk through this. And obviously, the first thing we need to do is add this Alex Pereira more than a half of a significant strike. Here's my recommendation to you. Grab this line. Add another piece that you are insanely comfortable with, whether it's a different sport, whether it's UFC. Max out whatever they let you max out on it. And then build a separate entry, right? Build more than one entry. Just use this free square one time in what should be a guaranteed slot. What you don't want to do is use essentially this free square, build yourself a 5-line entry, and then miss one of the lines and the free square was useless. So hopefully that made sense what I just said. So I would take Alex Pereira more than a half a significant strike and then find whatever one single other line you're most comfortable with and max out the payout. Hopefully we're clear. The established. Now let's go ahead and build the rest of this entry. So if I'm looking across the slate, we do have significant strikes here. I don't particularly like significant strikes, and last week was a perfect example why. Last week, the significant strike line in the particular fighter was 59.5, and he landed like 64. It was right there. And significant strikes is a subjective thing. I don't know if you know this, but there's literally a human being with a clicker that's like, that was significant. Nope, that one wasn't. That one was. And that's a subjective thing. If a different person's holding the clicker for a different fight, you're going to get different numbers. If a punch is this close, but it looks like it hits hard, maybe that's significant. If it's at range, supposed to be significant. There's a bunch of different criteria. Not everybody follows the same rules. This long rant is basically to say I don't love significant strikes. Obviously, the free square with Alex is a great one. But then if we look, there are some lines here that make some sense. And if we go find our buddy Martin Buday, 66.5 significant strikes. I like the less there for a few reasons. One, he's not necessarily a high volume guy. And while his stats may indicate he lands a good amount of significant strikes per minute, not all of his fights go the distance, so that per minute number isn't exactly a guarantee. I think Martin Buday doesn't land as many strikes as we think he does because I think he either finishes Andrei Arlovski or ends up against the cage with some good cage control from Andrei Arlovski, not letting those hands go. So I think Martin Buday at 66.5 significant strikes, I think he doesn't get to that number, so we're going to do the less. I typically like to laser in on low lines and do the more, but Tsuruya, brand new to the UFC, guy's an absolute stud. I don't know what that fight's going to be. Jillian Robertson, all-time submission queen in this weight class. This fight might be over in 1 minute, or it could be 3 rounds and she lands 100 significant strikes. There's too many unknowns in some of these fights. Joe Pyfer, 40.5 is a low number. That dude has one-punch knockout power. Diego Lopez, who knows what's going to happen in that fight? So we're going to leave all of those alone. And if you hate the free money, you can go to Alex Pereira and do the more on 50.5 significant strikes. We'll move over to fight minutes. I don't love any of these as well. And I understand this isn't the most helpful breakdown, but I promise you I have 2 more lines to make this a 4-entry line. We have Alex Pereira, 10.5 fight minutes. Don't touch that. Joe Pyfer, 11.5. Don't touch that. Roman Dolidze. That's one where it probably does go to a decision, but Roman has that one-punch knockout power, the submission ability, so we'll leave that alone. Nobody knows what happens in the co-main. The only line here that I actually would consider is the more on Ricky Simón at 12.5 fight minutes, but we have another line that we're going to be using for Ricky Simón. And then the Peyton Talbot line, the more on him at 8.5 fight minutes isn't terrible as well, because while he is a stud and he can finish fights, and I think he does finish this fight, this could go just a touch longer. Like, he doesn't just destroy everybody. He has multiple decisions. So while he should be light years better, that doesn't mean it's going to be a quick and fast fight. Fantasy score. I actually normally avoid fantasy score, but in this case, we are going over or the more on Rai Tsuruya. Let's go to that scoring start so you can see how points are accumulated in PrizePicks. Significant strikes, you're going to get 0.6 points. Takedowns, 6 points for every single takedown. Takedown defense is 3 points. Submission attempts, that is a unique thing to PrizePicks. If you attempt a submission, you will get points whether you get it or not. Same with takedown defense. If you defend a takedown, you will get some points. A knockdown is obviously worth quite a bit. And then here are the finish bonuses. I think Rai Tsuruya walks through Carlos Hernandez. I think he does whatever he wants to do, and I think he gets past this 100 fantasy points. And again, if we go back to that score chart, a first round win is 100. All this guy needs to do is land one significant strike, win in the first round, and we get paid. And I think something like that could happen, whether it involves wrestling, a TKO, a standing knockout. I think Rai Tsuruya is just levels above Carlos Hernandez. The rest of these are a little tricky. Ian Gary, that fight might be an absolute staring contest. If you think Joe Pyfer is still that guy and has all that power, the more on him makes a lot of sense because he can get the knockout. If you think Jillian Robertson continues to be the submission queen in this weight class, then the more on her makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't touch the Andre Feely one, and the Mayra Bueno Silva one, I think she flat out loses. So the less on her would make some sense if you agree with that statement. The last one we'll look at here is the Ricky Simón takedown lines. We're going to go more than 3. 3 is a lot. 3 is a lot, and we need 4 for this to hit. But I am confident that this will hit because, frankly, Ricky Simón takes everybody down. And his opponent, Vinicius Oliveira, is tough, could win, but in his last fight, he was taken down 3 times and then got a late third-round TKO. His last fight was not against somebody like Ricky Simón, who is going to be nonstop diving at legs. This fight will be. So win or lose, I think Ricky Simón gets the 3 takedowns and then gets the 1 more so that we win. Under 3, we lose. 3 is a push. Over 3, obviously, it hits. And I do think we get over the 3 takedowns. I'm not going to touch Jillian Robertson because if she gets 1 takedown, she could finish. Michelle Waterson may be able to defend the takedowns. Too many unknowns there. And Rai Tsuruya, UFC debut. I need to see him in an octagon before I start. I know he's going to win, but I need to see him actually fight to see how he's going to win. So for next time, if he comes in wrestle heavy, I'll be more confident. We've seen him wrestle on the regional scene, but a UFC cage is a very different world. This is my entry. If we throw 20 smookaloos at it, and I know smookaloo's not a word, 20 gets you 200. We will 10 times our money. If we do the flex play, I always do the flex play, frankly. If we do the flex play, this accounts for a loss. If 4 of these hit, we still 5 times our money. If we miss one, Ricky Simón comes out there, takes a dump on the floor, doesn't get his takedowns, we still make money. So we'll go ahead and lock this up, submit this entry, and get it going. As I said, make sure when you build your entries, take the free square, pair that up with one other line that you love, and then build yourself a second entry. Before we leave here, go get your free money. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks. Use promo code WWP.